Today is a special day. We're going to ordain 3 additional elders to share in the leadership of our church here in Glenburn. And our reading from Mark's Gospel reminds us that right in the middle of his important work, Jesus looked out beyond the specific and immediate needs of those coming to him for help, to the general need of the crowds. We're told his heart was filled with compassion for them because they were stressed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Soon after this, in Matthew's remembering of that occasion, we find Jesus' famous words, "Come to me, all who are exhausted and crushed, and I will give you rest. Let me guide you and help you, for I am caring and gentle in spirit, and your souls will be at rest." Even while he's on active mission to reconnect human beings with his Father in heaven, Jesus frequently notices and cares about our general human condition in the midst of life's struggles. And so he said to his disciples, "The harvest is great, but there are few workers. Pray to the owner of the harvest that he will send out workers to gather in his harvest." You and I think of that harvest in terms of people coming to faith and believing the truth about Jesus and our salvation, and that is vitally important. But it seems that here and at other times throughout his ministry, Jesus seemed more focused on people's circumstances, on their struggles in life, and saw himself as the one who would give them rest for their souls, the peace they really need. We're very familiar with Jesus' parting words to his disciples, "Peace I give you, my peace I give you. Let not your hearts be worried, neither let them be afraid." And I think it's very interesting that when he approached the city of Jerusalem for the last time, he said of the city and its people, "If only you knew what would give you peace, but you cannot see it." Jesus was concerned about the condition of people's lives, their worries, and the way these wore them down. He had compassion on them. He wanted them to have peace, and he knew he was the person who could bring that peace through his death and resurrection, because it was through his passion that he would reconnect us to God. And so Paul was able to write in Romans chapter 5, "We have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ." Now, if we look at folks not in church today, we can see through our Lord's eyes that they too are like sheep without a shepherd. And they too often don't know what will give them peace. I pray we'll always have the same compassion as our Lord Jesus, and never lose our motivation to share with them the peace they desperately need. And so I say to you who are about to become elders today, never forget what Mark tells us about Jesus being a man of deep and true compassion. Jesus' heart still goes out to those who are worried and don't know where to turn. Open your hearts to share our Lord's concern. In Matthew's remembering, when Jesus saw the crowds bring him those who were sick, he had compassion and healed their sick. Jesus' heart continues to go out to those who are sick and suffering today. Open your hearts to share Jesus' concern. And a couple of chapters later, with another crowd, Jesus says to his disciples, I have compassion for them because they've been with me for 3 days now and have nothing to eat. And I don't want to send them away hungry, for they might faint on the way. And we see that Jesus' heart continues to go out to those who are starving and hungry. Open your hearts today to share Jesus' concern. In Romans chapter 5, verse 2, we're told our peace comes from experiencing God's grace and receiving the gift of faith to trust and live in his grace. I think we know in our Scottish tradition that this is amazing grace. The discovery that the basis for our rescue does not rely on anything we might have done or not done, doesn't depend on anything we might or might not do, but rests entirely on God's prior decision to be gracious to us. And this is what takes away the worry, the striving, and the fear, and brings us true peace, the rest for our souls, which we really need. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but no sooner does Paul underline the basis for our peace in the wonderful grace of God than he says we're going to have troubles. And that might seem like a wrong turn. To say no sooner does God's grace bring us such peace as passes human understanding, than it's time to warn us about troubles we're going to face, and teach us that through those troubles we'll develop endurance, because God will be with us, and this will bring renewed hope to us. If there's one thing we can say about Paul, it's that he's a realist. Here he's writing to the early Christians in Rome, and they had been experiencing troubles all right. Their faith was under attack, and their lives were on the line. They were an emerging church right in the capital of the Roman Empire. They'd been through severe persecution by the authorities. And though things were a little calmer in AD 57, when Paul is writing this letter, and just a few years later, in AD 64, Nero would make Christians the scapegoats when the city went up in flames, and they would experience persecution unlike anything we'd experienced before. What we see here is that Paul had caught on to his master's pastoral priority of compassion, and had opened his heart to share Jesus' concern for those facing troubles in life, those in the Christian community, and those not yet in it. And it seems to me it's helpful for us here in Glenburn that Paul writes of the realities of troubles in the Christian life. For are we not experiencing difficulties because we've reached a point where we seem to have lost touch with the community? Are we not experiencing difficulties because we find ourselves a smaller, but relatively older congregation with limited resources for reaching out to reconnect with our community? And are we not experiencing difficulties more widely in the context of a society that sees the church as irrelevant in modern life? A new atheism tries to rubbish our faith, and those needing help today tend to look to secular charities or government agencies for help? And are we not experiencing difficulties through our struggle to be a church that holds to the developing tradition of biblical orthodoxy and yet also holds in fellowship those who see things differently from us? It wasn't for nothing that Paul wrote to the church in Rome as he did. And it's not for nothing that this church calls on you, elders elect, to join us in the pastoral leadership here for such a time as this. Because it is for such a time as this that you have been called to serve your Lord Jesus and called to serve your brothers and sisters in the church. We may not relish the difficulties we face, but we are promised our collective service will receive God's approval and create a hope that can never disappoint us because of the love God has poured into our hearts through his Holy Spirit. And so I say to you, for the times we live in, for the difficulties and the struggles, be assured that just as it all began with God's decision to reconcile us to himself through his Son, so it will continue to depend on him to sustain us and deliver us until we hear his words. Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy